Hello and welcome to another Wolftime gaming video. Today we're going to be painting up a droid tank, the AAT, to use in Star Wars Legion. We're going to turn him from this into this. If you want to find out how, make sure you stay tuned. Before we get started though, as usual, let's get that kettle on. Okay, so the first step is to actually spray paint it and give it a good base coat. To do that, in this instance, I've used Games Workshop's Wraith Bone spray. It's like a sort of off-white creamy colour. I thought it was actually a really good colour for a base coat for the actual tank as well. So we're going to try and leave that on there and not actually cover it with another colour. And then we move on to the actual colours themselves. So the Separatists had like a bluey sort of a theme to them throughout the Clone Wars. So that's what I'm really going to go for with this particular vehicle. To start with, I'm using Altdorf Guard Blue. And essentially I'm going to be just picking out a few areas on the tanks. You can see I've started with the actual guns, which I have left removable. I haven't glued them on there, so I can take them on and off. And that way it makes it a little bit easier to paint as well. It's not as fiddly trying to get in there. The arms where the guns will also go this blue colour, and then there's a few details around the tank as well, which we'll go into over the course of this video. But essentially you've got the main sort of areas at the front around where the weapons will fire out those holes, and there's some bits and pieces just on the actual turret as well. You've got like these sort of round nuts, I suppose they sort of look like, where it's all holding it the actual turret together. So I painted all those blue as well. This is really to show off the colour a little bit. Just wanted to add a little bit of colour to it. Didn't want it all to be that plain sort of tan colour like you see in the Phantom Menace. I wanted to go with this colour scheme because it's a little bit different. Just take a little bit of time to do this. The Altdorf Guard Blue I actually had to do a couple of coats with. So I did the first coat, let that dry, and then did a second coat on there as well, just so we got a nice block of colour. I didn't want to just leave it as it was. I thought that you could see a little bit too much of the cream through it. I did consider using one of the contrast paints to do this because of using the contrast spray, and I thought that would be a quicker way of doing it. The problem with that is, again, on these flat panels it doesn't look great, the contrast paint. Essentially it would have taken about 3 or 4 coats, I think, to actually get it looking really good. So I decided to go with the base paints for the blue colour. As I say, I did the whole tank with this. Really got to take your time. The front areas where the weapons actually are, the missile pods, I'm not actually quite sure what weapon they are. We'll have to have a look at the cards. But essentially I wanted that to be blue. I've seen a lot of people do like a blue curve around the front, which I thought looked really, really effective. The thing is that would take a lot of time and effort to be able to try and do that. I wanted this to be quite a quick video, quite a quick paint scheme as well, to actually get some paint on there really quickly. So you can see I've followed the actual panel lines, and I think that looks really good, really effective. So what I'm doing now is putting a little bit of Calgar blue, which is a layer paint, and the way I'm putting that on is dry brushing. Essentially, you get a bit of paint on your brush, wipe it onto the tissue paper that you can see I'm doing, and then just applying it onto the actual mini. And what it does, it gives that sort of cloudy feel, and also gives the blue a little bit more depth to it. Really, it's not just one block of colour. Makes it look a little bit more realistic, rather than just the blocks of colour that it's not very natural to have that block of colour essentially. So you just highlight it just around the actual cup holder on the turret and the hatches, and also around the guns. And what I also did was concentrate on the edges of these as well, so it really did show up quite nicely, and made it look like the light was shining on the blue areas a little bit differently. Next paint I used was the contrast paint Black Templar, and I use this on all of the guns to make them get that black sort of a colour. But I could have used a black paint for this, like Corvus black or something like that, and then highlighted. The one good thing about Black Templar is that you put this on there, and it seeps down into the cracks and crevices, and leaves like a really nice white highlight on any of the raised areas, and looks really, really effective around the weapons. I also used it on the aerials and just around the hatches, and the actual mechanics of the vehicle as well, the engines and things, and the gun turrets as well, and it really does make quite a lot of difference. So skipping ahead a little bit now to what I think is probably the most time consuming part of the paint scheme, which is using Agrax Earthshade in all of the panel, the lines in the panels essentially, and around all the nuts and bolts around the actual vehicle. Now this can take a really long time. However, you'll see when we get to the end now that it looks really effective when it's done. And you can already see the effect it's starting to have around the panels. I do recommend, if you try and do anything like this, to use quite a small brush, purely because if you use something too big, it's going to go over the edges and things. What I did do, I didn't try and just get it into the cracks and crevices perfectly, because that's not how this grime and dirt would act around on a vehicle. You'd actually get it, it'd spread out a little bit, so you don't need to be perfect with this. But essentially around anything that's raised or sunk, I used this, and it added that shading in. You can see it's looking really effective. Next part of the actual paint scheme itself was to start weathering it and dirtying it up a little bit, make it look a little bit used instead of it just being straight off the factory line. To that, I'm using a piece of foam dipped into Corvus black, wiped onto a piece of tissue, and then dotted around all the different areas, making it look like it's fired in this instance, and also just around the tank itself, looking like the paint's actually come away from the vehicle. Maybe a little bit of damage, maybe a bit of blaster fire, it's taken a little bit of fire as it's been moving around the battlefield, and it looks a bit dirty. I also used the silver in exactly the same way, where I used that foam, dipped it in, wiped the majority off onto a piece of tissue paper, something like kitchen roll, and then went over the vehicle as well. And it starts to make it look like, yes, the paint's gone with the black and there's a bit of scorching, but now you can actually see the bare metal underneath, and it starts to really look like it's on the battlefield, and it's had quite a big effect to the vehicle. It makes it look like it's just not straight off the production line, and gives it a realistic look to it. And there we have it, the paint scheme's complete. You can see with the base, I've actually used Martian Ironearth to do the basing. You've seen me do that in lots of the other videos, so I didn't want to show you again. It's a really easy technique. Make sure you do sort of do a dark line or a black line along the firing arcs, just to make it easier when you're playing the game. In this instance, I also added the Commander Mini as well, the B1 Battle Droid Commander. Check out the video I've done for that as well. I'll show you exactly how to paint those in a separate video. The battle damage on the vehicle looks absolutely fantastic. I think the way that this foam technique works is brilliant. Anything like a sponge or a foam will have the same effect. But that's it, guys. That's the tank complete. I'm really pleased with how it's turned out. Very different paint scheme to what I usually do, but I think it looks really effective. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Make sure you hit that subscribe button to see any future videos, and also check out all the other videos we've done in the for Star Wars Legion so far. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the next one.